So my text that I'm reading so far is Love's Labor, Loss, and Vopone. And what I'm looking for these in is societal structure and the relationship between poverty, power, and money. Okay. And what I have found so far is that for commoners with low social ranking, they are envious of rich people, and they usually scheme in order to, I guess, make themselves look better because they need money. And most people, they get rich from doing that. On kings and queens. For money, as far as rich people, they need cannon fodder or people to trample so that they look good. Money instructs the rich people to have nothing to do with the poor. What Love's Labor Loss does is come from the point of view as like money and poverty being two nations and at war constantly. And I like that picture. And then power, it exerts the action that money instructs. In other words, if you're rich, then you also have the power. Bearing them, they bar themselves, I guess, from... in other words, they create like a separate thing, like a line between the rich and the poor people or the common people. And go down a little bit. And poverty rebels against money as a result of its heavy hand. In other words, constantly drawing that line, reminding me that you're rich and reminding me that you hold the power. And also brings or impends dearth, the plague, and famine.
Okay. So, like I was reading King of the Shoe by Shakespeare, and like one of other articles called Life of an Elizabethan townsperson, and it said that like a lot of wealthy people donated a lot of money to the schools and stuff, and I think the lower people didn't like it because it's like envious because they didn't have the money to do anything. So like they succeeded, like they got envious, and like they thought that we could do that. The same thing, right? So they, I think, they started having more like working hard, and it says that they could afford more luxuries now because so they could afford more luxuries like the hard people because the trade business like went up really good, and But like after they thought they were envious, they started doing more work, and that's how they became rich.
During that time, for my text, specifically Vopone, what I noticed is Vopone is a master, a rich man already, and Mosca is his like main servant, and he's also a poor commoner, and he has like a lot of people. Vopone has a lot of people that basically serve him, and in the beginning of the text. They sort of explain what they look for in a knight. In other words, and when we studied medieval times, we talked about how knights were like the higher up people. They had valor, they had honesty. They were known basically not to screw around. And now, what they once looked for in a knight, they seek in gold. They believe it's better to have wisdom. They believe it's better to have riches over wisdom. And Mosca tells the Lord, or Vopone, how he is not a lowly or a cheap man. He has a lot of money. And then he starts to sort of, I guess, build him up in a way. So as to say, basically, oh, you're so rich, you have all this money, but you know what to do with money. You're not like people who hoard it and keep it in their room and locked away and don't use it, And basically, he's just building Vopone up. And then at the end, he says, so you should give us, your lowly servants, some of that money who serve you in faithfulness and all this stuff. Basically, all Mosca ever wanted was money. And he did it by scheming, by trying to make Vopone, basically praising Vopone and commending him. But it was really a complete assault in the end. So, yes. And that is from Love's Labor Loss, how I also found that the commoners get money too, is by scheming. And a lot of the times with the writers specifically, like that we're reading, they will praise a king or a queen or something in one of their texts, and that king or queen will give them money, like a certain amount of money for a month for the rest of their life. And either way, in the end, it's still just scheming, because who's to say that the guy, I think Edmund Spencer or so, whoever wrote Fairy Queen, who's to say he really liked Queen Elizabeth? But she paid him for the rest of his life, so, And that's what I've noticed, that the people who have money, inadvertently control the people who don't, basically, and that's because that money gives them power.
Taming of the Shrew, like Petruchio, like he's the main character. He had the money. His father like recently died and left him a lot of money, but he still wanted to get rich. So he asked his friend to find a girl who was really rich, and like his friend found a girl, Kate, like the main character, but she was very rude. But like he didn't care. He just wanted her wealth, and so he decided to marry her. And like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's like it's all about money in the Renaissance, like I think. And like also like you said that like there's a divide between like the lower class and the upper class, but like in this story like there are servants, like everyone has, like every rich person has a servant, and like all the male characters in here like really like the servants, and like they respect them. And so like when like it's in one of the times like it says that like the servants will take the place of their masters because their masters wanted to woo a lady, and so like they exchange places and gave all their power to their servants. So like I think there might be like some places like where the servants weren't like treated as badly as like everywhere else.
Yeah. In my text, Wilpone, again, he is a rich man already. And one of the, I guess, the biggest central plot of it is that he's basically an old master. He's not married and he doesn't have kids or any bastard kids or anything like that. Not that I know of, anyway. Maybe he does have bastard kids, actually. But point is, no one that he would actually leave any of his wealth to if he died. And there are a few characters who realize this. It's a lot of them. Corvino. There's a few. Basically, a lot of people come to his house every day to check on him and see how his health is supposedly degrading. Meanwhile, this is all really just a scheme. He's just doing it so that people will give him more prized possessions, more values, more money, and all that. He's not actually dying or sick. So far. Anyway, in my opinion, if I had to predict anything, I'd say he's probably actually going to get sick later, but I don't know yet. And so every day these men come and check on him, and then there's this one, I think his name is Corvino, and he's like basically saying, "Oh, good." His eyes are like falling out of his brain. He's deaf now. He's turning really gray. He can hardly speak. His whisper is faint, and he thinks that I'm going to be his inheritance. In other words, they're all trying to gain his inheritance by showing him acts of love, coming to check on him every day. But Corvino by far hides it the less. Like he's coming up to Mosca, and he's like, "Oh, so he's basically dead, right? So that's good, right? And I am the, I am going to inherit his. I'm the heir, basically." Right? And it's just really funny to watch because it shows how money not only gives you power, even over other powerful, rich people too, but it makes you greedy. You know what I'm saying? And so Mosca, by being a faithful servant, on the other hand, is hoping to be gaining all of this wealth. And I think he's also trying to prove himself worthy to be the heir too, because he's being so faithful. I haven't gotten, I'm like a third of the way in now, so I'm on like Act 3. And the scenes are longer than life. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with that. But I think it's a really good text to display societal structure at the time and how money was gotten, and the relationship between poverty, money, and power is really interesting because they're all directly proportional. As your money goes up, your power goes up. And as your money goes up, because you're taking it, if you had a mercantilist point of view on wealth, because you're taking money, then poverty is also going up. It's also increasing. So.
Well, like I read one of the debates that the House of Commons had, and it said that like the nation was getting poorer because like it had like 300,000 interest in debt, and like it was all over the place, like in wine, like act, and like navy and chimney money and all that stuff. So like if the nation was getting poor, so were the people. So I think that was the main reason like everyone was like wanted more money.
Yeah.
And like as I said, like Petruchio, he wanted all the money like the woman had. And so like as soon as he went to her father to ask her hand in marriage, he asked the father like, how much money would I get? Like how? Yeah. That's the first thing he asked, and like that's not right.
That's not.
You should love the girl before the money. So
So I don't know. I'm getting bored and running out of things to say, and Miss Donhauser should just give us an A. Plain blank. So I think what you're saying helps give me a easier outlook on, I guess, society, because I was wondering if I was getting it right or wrong. But that definitely confirms it. And this is Elizabethan era, your text.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, because like money was all over the place because I think like it says in all of our world history classes that like England was like really rich and stuff, and it had like ports or like control over all of like most of the land in the world, but in reality like it wasn't doing that great. It was just the show that was like put up to make other countries jealous, I think. So yeah.
How many minutes are we at? We're good. It's been 10 minutes.